The night was thick with humidity, the kind that clings to your skin and makes every breath feel like a chore. I was sprawled out on the porch of my grandfather's old farmhouse, a cold beer sweating in my hand, when I first heard the faint screech of metal against metal. It wasn't loud, just a whisper of something wrong, carried on the breeze. I sat up, squinting into the darkness beyond the rickety fence that marked the edge of my 3-acre plot. The silhouette of my ancient Massey Ferguson tractor loomed in the moonlight, its chipped red paint a stubborn relic of the land's farming past. I chalked the sound up to the wind, or maybe a stray raccoon rummaging through my tool shed. But then I saw her Lillian Carver slipping out from under the tractor, her silver hair glinting like a blade as she darted back toward the pristine rows of houses in Willow Crest Estates. My name's Ethan Caldwell, and I've been fighting a losing battle with the Willow Crest Homeowners Association ever since I moved back to this place 3 years ago, after my marriage fell apart. The divorce left me with nothing but a beat-up truck and a longing for the simplicity of my childhood. So I'd return to the family farm's stubborn patch of earth, surrounded by the manicured lawns and identical mailboxes of a neighborhood that had swallowed up the countryside. My grandfather had worked this land for 60 years, coaxing life from the soil with his hands and that old tractor. Now it was my lifeline, the heart of my small landscaping business. Without it, I'd be sunk snow wouldn't get cleared in winter, lawns wouldn't get mowed in summer, and I'd be back to square one. Lillian Carver wasn't just any neighbor. She was the iron-fisted president of the Willow Crest HOA, a woman whose perfectly coiffed hair and steely gaze could freeze you mid-sentence. She'd been after me since day one, her clipboard a weapon, her voice a venomous drawl that carried the weight of bylaws she wielded like a guillotine. That tractor, she'd decided, was an eyesore, a violation of Section 8, Paragraph 3. Saw no farm equipment VY Seibel from the street saw. Never mind that my property predated her precious subd VY Shown by decades, or that the original development agreement grandfathered me in, explicitly allowing agricultural equipment storage in perpetuity. To Lillian, rules were whatever she said they were, and she'd made it her mission to erase me from her VY Shown of suburban perfection. I didn't sleep that night. The image of her tampering with my tractor gnawed at me, a splinter of dread burrowing deeper with every passing hour. At dawn, I was out there, wrench in hand, checking every bolt and hose. That's when I found it. The brake line sliced clean through, hydraulic fluid pooling in the dirt like blood from a wound. My stomach churned. If I'd driven that thing down the hill to a job, I'd have been a goner plummeting into traffic or wrapping myself around a tree. Lillian wasn't just petty. She was dangerous. The crunch of gravel snapped me out of my daze. Lillian stood at the edge of my property, her heels sinking into the earth, her navy blazer pristine despite the early hour. "Mr. Caldwell," she said, her voice as cold as the morning dew, "that monstrosity has to go. The HOA has standards, and you're dragging us all down." I wiped my hands on a rag, forcing calm into my voice. "Morning, Lillian. This land was a farm long before your McMansions sprouted up. I'm grandfathered in the county records if you don't believe me." She tapped her clipboard, the sound sharp and deliberate. "That was then. Now, you're subject to SAR rules. Section 8-inch. Doesn't apply." I cut in, my pulse quickening. "The agreement's ironclad. You can't rewrite history." Her lips pressed into a thin, cruel line. "We'll see about that." She snapped a few photos of my tractor with her phone, then turned on her heel and strode off. I watched her go, a knot of unease tightening in my gut. This wasn't going to end with a stern letter or a fine. This was personal. Later that morning, my phone buzzed. It was Jake Russo, one of the few neighbors who didn't treat me like a pariah. "Saw the Ice Queen at your place," he said, his voice low and conspiratorial. "What's she after now?" "My tractor," I replied, leaning against the porch railing. "And maybe my sanity. She's got the board wrapped around her finger, Jake. I am screwed." "Watch yourself," he warned. "She's relentless. Remember the Garcias? She had their kids' treehouse torn down while they were on vacation, claimed it was unapproved. They moved out 6 months later. I spent the afternoon in the basement, digging through my grandfather's old files. The air was thick with dust and the faint smell of mildew, but I found what I needed, the yellow development agreement, its faded ink still legible. Saw agricultural equipment storage permitted on the Caldwell parcel in perpetuity. I clutched it like a shield, relief washing over me. But it was short-lived. 3 days later, a citation arrived due law 300 for improper equipment storage. I scrawled, saw grandfathered C attached, saw across it, stapled a copy of the agreement, and mailed it back. A small VY Tory, I thought. I was wrong. The citations kept coming. Due law 454, excessive noise, after I started the tractor at 9 a.m. to mow a client's lawn. Due law 200 for improper lawn maintenance because the wildflowers in my backfield were too tall. Then due law 600 for unapproved landscape alterations. Someone had planted a row of azaleas along my property line overnight, complete with a tiny plaque reading "Saw property of Willow Crest HOA Saw." I ripped them out, snapping photos of the EVY Denke, my hands trembling with rage. It was a setup, a calculated move to bury me in fines I couldn't pay. I drove to the county records office, my truck rattling over the potholed road. Mrs. Elsie Tanner, a clerk who'd been there since the Nixon administration, stamped my copies with a knowing look. "Lillian Carver GIVYing you hell?" she asked, peering over her glasses. "How'd you guess?" I said, managing a weak grin. "You're not her first rodeo." She tried to get the old mill designated a public nuisance last year because it clashed with her aesthetic. She's a bulldozer in pearls. Armed with my documents, I requested a hearing with the HOA board. The meeting room was sterile, all fluorescent lights and polished wood. Lillian sat at the head of the table, flanked by 4 board members who looked like they'd rather be golfing. I laid out my case, pointing to the grandfather clause, my voice steady despite the hammering in my chest. "These fines are baseless. My rights are protected." Lillian waved a dismissive hand. "Those documents are obsolete. The board updated the bylaws last year. Your exemptions don't apply. You can't vote away a legal agreement." I shot back, heat rising in my face. "We can, and we did," she said, her smile venomous. "The vote stands. 30 days to comply, or the fines escalate." I stormed out, kicking gravel in the parking lot. Jake was waiting on my porch when I got home, 2 beers in hand. "That bad, huh?" he said, handing me one. "Worse," I muttered, taking a swig. "She's ignoring the law. Wants me gone." "She's done it before," Jake said, his voice grim. "Then Gwen sold last year after she hit them with fake violations. Guess who scooped up their house through her cousin's real estate firm?" A chill snaked through me. "She's after my land. 3 acres on the edge of her perfect little empire." "You bet she is." That night, I couldn't sleep. At 2 a.m., headlights swept across my bedroom wall. I peered out, heart pounding, to see a black SUV idling near my tractor. A figure stepped out, Lillian checking her handiwork. I grabbed my phone, but she was gone before I could snap a photo. In the morning, a new citation was tucked under my windshield wiper. Due law 800 for unauthorized soil disturbance. The azaleas were her doing, and now she was pinning it on me. I called my cousin Tara, a real estate lawyer in the next county. "They're manufacturing violations," she said after I explained. "Document everything, Ethan. She's playing dirty." "She's not just dirty," I said. "She's dangerous." The next day, a thick envelope arrived from the HOA. My fines now totaled due law 3,200, and they filed a lien on my property. I called Tara in a panic. "They can't do this, right?" "Not legally," she said, her voice tight. "But they've got the paperwork in motion. Fighting it will take time you don't have." That evening, a knock startled me. A woman stood on my porch, her curly hair framing a sharp, curious face. "I'm Nora Bennett," she said. "I live on Birch Lane. Can we talk?" Over coffee, Nora revealed she was a freelance journalist investigating HOA abuses across the state. "Your name popped up in some filings," she said, her eyes gleaming. "Lillian's been targeting you hard." "I've got proof of my grandfather clause," I said, sliding the agreement across the table. "That's gold," she replied. "EVY Denke of overreach. I'm building a story want in." For the first time in weeks, I felt a flicker of hope. We pored over my files, Nora scribbling notes as I recounted every citation, every threat. She's got ties at City Hall, Nora said. Her uncle's on the zoning board. She's pushing out originals like you to flip the land for profit. The next morning, 2 cops showed up. Mr. Caldwell, we got a complaint about stolen HOA plants. One said, eyeing me skeptically. She planted them on my land to frame me. I shot back, showing my photos of the azaleas and the HOA stake. They nodded. Uncon V. Wine said, but willing to let it slide for now. Nora called later, breathless. She's escalating. Sent the cops to rattle you. My editor greenlit the story. It runs next week. That night, Jake texted me. Saw emergency HOA meeting. Be there. Saw the community center was packed. A sea of tense faces. Lillian stood at the podium, her laser pointer circling my tractor on a projected image. We're Remo VYing non-compliant structures, she announced. Caldwell's equipment, the Torres shed, the Kim's ramp hall gone in 48 hours. You can't take the Kim's ramp, I shouted, standing. Their son's in a wheelchair, it's ADA protected. It's unapproved, Lillian snapped. They can replace it at their expense. Mrs. Kim stood, her voice trembling. You approved it 2 years ago. The board reconsidered, Lillian said coolly. I snapped. This is illegal. You're ignoring federal law and my grandfathered rights. Nora rose, notepad in hand. Lillian Carver, Nora Bennett, State Gazette. Care to comment on selective enforcement allegations? Lillian's face blanched. Meeting adjourned. She barked, but the room erupted. Neighbors swarmed Nora, spilling their own tales of harassment. I stepped outside, the air thick with tension. Lillian cornered me in the parking lot, her voice a hiss. You'll regret this, Caldwell. It's not just your kingdom anymore, I called after her. At 3 a.m., a crash jolted me awake. My front window was shattered, a brick in the wreckage with a note. Saw get out. Saw I call the cops, but they shrugged it off. No proof it's her, they said. Nora texted me a bombshell the next day. Leaked minutes from a secret HOA meeting. Lillian's plan to force me out for a luxury condo project. Saw Willow Crest Pinnacle, saw spelled out in black and white. I filed a harassment complaint at the county office, Mrs. Tanner's warning ringing in my ears. This'll take time. Time ran out 48 hours later. A tow truck rolled up at dawn, flanked by Lillian's SUV. You're too late, she sneered as I blocked the gate. It's over. Not yet, I said, climbing into the tractor cab. Jake's trailer was ready. We'd move it to his brother's farm. But as I released the brake, nothing happened. The tractor lurched forward, chains snapping as it barreled down the slope. Lillian screamed as it veered toward her Lexus, missing it by inches before smashing through a garage door. Tools and shelves collapsed in a cloud of dust. She spun on me, eyes wild. You'll pay for this. Check your cameras, Lillian, I said, adrenaline surging. The ones you think I don't see. Explain why you were here at 2 a.m. and why your gloves have brake fluid on them. Her silence was deafening as police lights flashed in the distance. Neighbors poured out, phones recording. The cops found a cut brake line, then searched her garage wire cutters, stolen property, and a notebook detailing her vendetta against me and others. Removed by any means necessary. 1-page read. Lillian was cuffed as the crowd grew. The Kims spoke up about their ramp. The Torreses revealed fines for their daughter's therapy cat. The truth unraveled her empire. Weeks later, a forensic audit exposed due law $400,000 in embezzled HOA funds vacations, a boat, her son's college tuition. She got 12 years, her assets seized. I bought her foreclosed house at auction, gutted it, and turned it into the Willow Crest Community Hub open to all, with ramps, gardens, and no trace of her tyranny. That first summer, as kids splashed in the pool she'd hoarded, I parked my tractor out front, its new brakes gleaming. Jake handed me a lemonade. Worth it. I looked at the laughter, the life blooming where fear once ruled. What do you think? If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this VY Deo with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next VY Deo.